Professions Unfiltered. I'm Precious, and this is the show where we tear down the corporate facade, forget the fancy titles, and just have an honest chat with people who have actually built the amazing careers we all look up to. So if you are a student trying to figure out your next step, a parent trying to guide your child, or just someone curious about what this job title actually means, this is the show for you. We're going deep on the struggles, the inside stories, and exactly how they made it all happen. So basically, we're asking all the questions you wish you could ask. For our very first, and I mean first ever show, we are kicking things off with someone who literally shapes careers, builds companies from the inside out. He has seen it all. The rise of tech, the change in office culture, the good, the bad, the truly wild moments of workspaces. He is a human resource professional and vice president, among other titles, in an esteemed group of tech companies in Lagos, Nigeria. With decades of valuable working experience in human resource management, Mr. Tom Igalo will be sharing some insightful wisdom, and I am ready to unpack. Are you? Welcome to the show, Mr. Tom. We're so grateful to have you as our inaugural guest.
Thank you very much, Precious. I'm looking forward to this opportunity. I don't usually talk about myself, so please bear with me if I don't say too much, but I will certainly do the best I can to.
All right, Mr. Tom. So we promised the people watching that we're not going to have this stuffy interview type. We're just going to have a chat. I'm going to jump right into your story because that's the gold mine here. Most people think, they look at successful careers like yours and they think it's just a straight line, but we know better. So Mr. Tom, let's go right to the beginning. Growing up, we know we all had dreams. We wanted to be astronauts. Like me, I wanted to be a teacher. I had people that wanted to be a doctor. And really, what was your own dream?
I think, so I started out really desiring to be a lawyer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I had a lot of validation around that, especially from my, family members. I was very talkative when I was much younger, especially in my primary, surprise, eh?
Yeah.
Especially in my primary school days, very talkative. I think I was also very argumentative, and I think the first time I got a hint that, this is probably what I would do was the confidence I exhibited, even as a young, primary school student at that time. But at home, an adult came in, I think, to see my dad. My dad wasn't around, but the way I engaged that adult, in conversation, was very confident. I got that feedback from my sister. I think that really triggered it. So I thought I was actually going to become a lawyer. That was my dream, because I was told that, and I sort of believed it as well. But life happened. Let me just say, life happened. Yeah. But that was what I thought I was, going to pursue. I think as I furthered and went into secondary school, things sort of changed for me. In secondary school, then we started the 6334 system, education system of the then government. I was in the first set that started that 6334 system. So in secondary school, you had junior secondary school, where everyone did, you didn't have the breakdown like you have it now. Everyone did what is called integrated science, right? In that, you had all the mix of biology, physics, and all of that. But when you went into secondary school, we split into various, classes that focused on, what you really wanted to study. So you had the sciences class, those fic and bi, that's what you used to call it, those who studied physics, chemistry, biology. And then you had those, you had arts, right? And then you had the social sciences, those who did, I think, economics, and so forth. So in secondary school, for some strange reason, I really wanted to be in the serious group. I just had this interest in physics, chemistry, biology, especially biology, speaking about the anatomy of the body, about, what happens in the jungle, in the forest, how do birds fly, how do butterflies do what they,
I'm very curious.
I was extremely curious. So I went into sciences. I did further maths. I did physics, chemistry, and biology. Full science class.
Wow.
In fact, it was an all-boys class. There was only one lady in that class, I remember, in secondary school.
Wow.
So that's actually what, that's how I toed that line. And then, of course, further maths was a bit too tough for me. I scaled it down to just ordinary maths. But I did physics, chemistry, and biology. And then, strangely enough, to my choice of, subjects to get into the university, right, slightly changed. I wanted to give myself breadth. So I knew that physics, chemistry, and biology would take me into medical sciences, which was something I also wanted to do at the time. So I had changed now from wanting to become a lawyer.
Yeah.
And I now felt that, okay, just focusing on sciences alone was a bit narrow. So what I did in my final year in secondary school was take on economics. I added that to my, list of subjects. And I think that gave me, the kind of breadth that I wanted. So I was really looking to do medical sciences, and so in my JAM, I did math, biology, physics, and chemistry. I did those three subjects. But economics for me was just to give myself breadth. So I just took it on in my last final year in secondary school. And my score wasn't initially good enough to do medical sciences, but was good enough for social sciences. And so I found myself, tilting in that direction. And I think the good thing is I was already prepared because I had done economics, as part of the subjects I took in my final year. So I found myself eventually, going into, social sciences. Was it deliberate? Maybe there were signs that I had. That's why I took economics in my, final year. If I hadn't taken that, I probably would have been stuck. I wouldn't have had a social science option, right, when I was going into college. But I think there was a sign in that direction that gave me an inkling to do that. So yes, I started out wanting to become a lawyer. I had a lot of interest in that regard. I was pushed, I was told, I was coerced. But going into secondary school, that changed completely. I went into full sciences, and then eventually I landed in social sciences.
So, Mr. Tom, that was very interesting. You took us through a journey from when you wanted to be a lawyer and then going into secondary school. I'm very sure many students of nowadays experience that. So, Mr. Tom, what was your first paying job? Was it related to science, or was it something you just put your hands on or use with your hands?
So I actually, my first paying job, incidentally, was in real estate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was in real estate for about 2 years, I think. 2 to 3 years. It wasn't something that I planned for. Yeah, I applied to a couple of companies, including some consulting companies. But real estate was the first that answered my call for employment. And so I worked in real estate for about, 2 years. DF Fatimilane, to be precise, one of the most renowned real estate companies, you have in the country. And that really exposed me to a lot in terms of, property dealing, people engagement, and I think I began to see how, what delighted me in real estate wasn't really the deals that, I was able to close in terms of real estate. What really excited me was the opportunity to identify what a client, whether they were walking or whether they were referred to me, wanted, and being able to, either out of our own suite of properties that we had, or especially going out there to search for what they required. So it's putting the two together, meeting, clients' requirement in terms of what they wanted from a real estate, perspective. That's really what excited me. And I didn't know it at the time, but I found I think what I really enjoyed was the engagement. A client walks in and we talk, we engage, they want this, and I'm able to size up, their own income level and, say, okay, this is what will really meet your need. And I found that exciting, really, beyond just closing transactions. So my first paying job really was in real estate.
So that was where you found the connection between where you were to where you are now?
I would honestly think so. I'm sure there are a couple of other things down the road, that shaped that, but definitely, that was one discovery. One of the things I learned, maybe benefit of, hindsight now, is that whatever one commits to do, you do it well. And I think that's what I found that I had a very good, boss and supervisor. Okay. Even when I was in real estate. But I think that is what I was privileged to have throughout my career. People who were able to, give direction, build me up, right, and teach. And I think that's one major hallmark for anyone who is going to be successful. The other thing is, whatever you apply yourself to do, just do it well. And I think that's what I did. That's really what I did. So my first paying job was in real estate, and I truly threw myself into it. I applied myself, and I did learn a lot. One
of the things I picked from what you just said is, and I wish everybody watching here have too, is that whatever you do it well. So wherever you find yourself, as long as you are doing the best you can, you might actually succeed in that aspect. So, Mr. Tom, there's this, would I say, a myth going around that the responsibilities of an HR would be to just hire and fire people. I think that's what people majorly think about when they hear human resource manager. So what is human resource management to you as a person?
Okay, so before I answer that question, I'm sure people will be wondering, how did I get into HR? I wanted to be a lawyer.
Yes,
I studied sciences. I started being, my work history in real estate. How did I end up in HR? After I left real estate, really, I think I had an interest in consulting. So I applied, because consulting, I think, at that time, afforded me the opportunity to research. That's how I understood consulting, right? I could find things out for people and help them. So I had an interest in that, and I was referred, and I got a job in a company called HRM Consulting. HRM Consulting, I will tell you, for me, that experience was foundational to my career today. I worked with an excellent boss, an excellent team, but the culture and the dynamic of, the company's suite of solutions and how they, rendered help to companies is really, for me, the foundation of everything I've learned that has made me successful in my career as a HR professional. So the sort of consulting, Ristral is a people consulting company. It's a management consulting company that helps essentially companies, become better. And companies are a makeup of people, culture and people. That was my first exposure to leadership. That was my first exposure to, management as a, management of process, management of people. And so that gave me the foundation, like I said, for what I do today. And I got a lot of, tutelage, a lot of learning at Ristral Consulting. It's a sort of company that not only builds you up, but also affords you the opportunity to get exposed, right? Not just to learning, but to apply what you have learned. So I worked in consulting for about 5 years. And then I got my first, HR job in a bank from consulting. So that's how I got into HR.
You've really gone from places to places.
That's how I got into HR.
That's interesting.
And to your question, What is HR? People think HR is about hiring and firing,
Yeah,
right?
really.
HR is an acronym for human resources. Human resources basically is a people asset. People are assets to a company, right? A company cannot thrive without people. A company can't, no matter, even in this age of technology, AI, and whatever, you still need people, right, to drive the value proposition of any or an objective of any company. So, human resources, HR, is really about the management of people to achieve an objective, to achieve, a company's value proposition. Of course, it involves hiring and firing.
Yeah.
Because you must hire people to do the job.
And you must fire people that.
Well, that's the sad part of sometimes
Okay.
the life of an organization. People will come, people will go. Sometimes people will go naturally, sometimes you will have to fire people, unfortunately. But yeah, sometimes even, getting people to that stage where you have to fire them, some have not seen it as a good thing. But I think also that given my years of experience, I've seen people who are fired for various reasons. Depending on how they take it, they turn out, becoming better.
So it's just like a phase of life, I would say.
Yeah. So HR really is about managing people to achieve an objective or a set of goals, value proposition for a company. A company can't do that without people. Even if you have all the systems, even if you have all the processes, you got to have people to drive that and achieve that objective. Human resources is about managing people to essentially do that. And all of the processes around getting that done.
Okay, so speaking of people, you've been in this for decades now, I would say. How's it been? Now you work with Gen Zs, people that are, would I say, a little bit different from how it used to be then. So how have you been able to manage the difference? Do you think we're doing something wrong, especially people of my generation? Do you think that something is too different? How have you been able to handle that?
To become, I think, good in whatever career of choice you make, it's got to be something that you love doing.
Okay.
I'm people oriented. Okay, and what I mean by that is I like the engagement with people. I actually like to help people. If that didn't come naturally with me, then it probably would be a challenge, working in human resources. So it's important that when you pick a profession, it has to align with what you have a natural, flair for.
Okay.
One of the fundamentals also around, things that have changed. Back then, 9 to 5. Here it's 8 to 5. But today, most Gen X want to work from home.
Yes, please.
They just want to work from home, right? I have so many thoughts around that, but let me not start downloading that. Otherwise,
maybe just
really
tell us one.
Gosh. There's value in interaction. Interaction need not always be through social media, through phones, and all of that. I think one of the things that has really helped me in my career is the joy of having this, direct interaction with people within the office space, right? When you leave your house, you go to work, you know that you're going to engage people, engage processes, engage a system, and have that interaction. It builds you up. So that may be old school for a lot of, Gen X's, but that interaction, right, really, I think, builds you up as a professional, right? You don't want to miss out on that, even in building your career. So yes, you could have a hybrid type system, but just doing fully remote, I think has been one of the greatest challenges in managing, this generation of young folk that, want to do things, easy or the easier way. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But don't miss out, please, on the benefit of having that interaction within the confines of a space, right, that allows you also to build yourself up. It's the same way I tell my teenage, kid, don't bend your head over all the time over social media on your phone. There's a lot that is happening out there, and you've got to be able to engage your society, engage your environment, engage people. Sometimes I think that a lot of time spent on, social media or on your own can make people recluse. There's so much to achieve out there. So what are you going to give? You want to give all that you have, as talented as you are, right, to the world through a screen? No. Let me just leave it there, because I know some people are really looking at me like...
Well, I am, but
yeah.
I think that you are very big on interaction. You feel that interacting with people is the basic and primary aspect of your job.
Relationships. That's where long-term relationships, solid relationships are built, really. And professional relationships, and sometimes as well as, personal, close relationships.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. So let's talk about the unfiltered stuff. Through the years, I'm sure there must have been a time when you said, I'm not paid enough for this. When was that? Think about it.
Well, okay, so I've had to experience a lot of hard work. I've had the joys of, yes, there's good reward for what I do and my contribution. But I've also had those long-standing, periods where I'm wondering, is it that I'm not seen? Nobody, is it that they can't see the work I'm doing and all of that? I think in my profession, I'm not one who has moved, or what I would say hobnobbed from one job to the other. I'm in that generation where a lot of folk, change jobs to get better pay, right? I have, for example, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
When I was in consulting for about 5 years. I left consulting, I went into the bank, right? And I was heading a department in human resources in the bank. And I happened to be in the bank for over 15 years.
Okay.
Right?
That's a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time,
wow.
actually. And in all those years, I worked in HR. But I had the wonderful, privilege of working in HR, but with various other departments, across the bank. So I can tell you about risk. I can tell you about marketing, right? I can tell you about brand management. There's no aspect of a business that I can't tell you about, even though I worked in HR. You see, HR has a seat at the table with the business because we are there for the business. And we manage, people in the business to achieve the business's results. So it's about partnering with the business to help the business get, what it needs done. And so that for me was a unique benefit. And all my years in banking, right? Yes, in HR, but I had that beautiful privilege of working, with various other departments, that handle various other aspects of the business, of the bank.
So the times you felt, I'm not paid enough for this was when...
Okay, yes, that. Do you really want me to go into those stories? Those times would happen, right? And it did happen for me. But I didn't feel that it was time for me to leave because I still felt I still had a lot to learn. Okay. The few times I have moved wasn't necessarily because I felt I wasn't recognized or paid enough. It was just because I felt the need for a new, fresh challenge, right? I needed to go apply a lot of what I've learned, but in a different environment, right? And interestingly, I had that experience working in the bank for as long as I did. Because like I said, while in HR, I had a beautiful joy of an experience working with various other businesses. So I can tell you everything end to end about any business. There was once though when I felt, look, when I just joined the bank, I felt that I joined at a level that was a bit lower than the value I was bringing. Yeah, but my focus really was to bring that value. And so I stayed, and I continued to bring that value. And I think it didn't take about 3 years.
But they saw that value.
And I got a promotion. So I think I've been promoted at least 5 times in the history of my stay in the bank.
Wow.
You know, so I won't say that I have not benefited. You know, so I think that was the one time though. But I think for me the lesson was, you know, I kept at it. I continued to deliver value. And one thing I constantly believe in is that your work speaks for you. There's no way you would deliver good work, good value, and not eventually get the reward. And it came.
That's very insightful, sir. So what is the most rewarding part of your job that keeps you coming back? That if you go to another company tomorrow, you still want to be in this human resource?
Adding value to people's lives. That for me is, like I said, when I was in consulting, that built me. That was my foundation, really. And I give kudos, really, to my experience there and all those who, you know, helped facilitate my learning, you know, and build that foundation at the time. But what brings me back always and gives me joy is being able to ignite the hidden potential in people, making them better at not just what they do, but who they are and who they eventually become. That gives me the greatest satisfaction in this profession. Yeah.
So if you're sitting with your past self, say that person that felt that they were not valued enough, and you could sit side by side with them right now, what is that thing that you would tell them to encourage them along the way?
Get up and leave that place. Go and earn better pay somewhere else. Why are you still there? No,
Really?
not really.
Okay.
What I would tell them really, would I tell them to do anything different from what I did? I don't think so.
But I think you can have an advice to keep them there.
So my advice really would be this, and I think I had said it earlier on. Whatever you find yourself, you know, doing, do it well. Do it extremely well. I mean, I remember there was a time even way back in consulting where we had to bring in goods to facilitate, you know, the delivery of a leadership intervention.
Okay.
And, you know, I couldn't get people to, you know, help, you know, carry those items. I had to come over the weekend myself and, you know, lift those things up, you know, books, cartons of books and stuff,
Really?
lift them up.
You must have been very young then.
Lift them up 4 floors. But that was foundational, really.
Okay.
And I think when you apply yourself and you have a goal and you have a passion and a desire, right, to deliver value, right, to achieve something, you will go to the, you know, great lengths. You go to the extreme to do that. And that would be my advice, right? We're in an age where people want to, you know, get value quickly. They want all that they can get and get it now. There's nothing so wrong with that. But the reality in life is that you don't run unless you have learned to walk. And you don't walk unless you have, you know, crawled, at least made some move. There is a stage of development that people must apply themselves to. If you do that quickly and faster than others, that is fine. It's just like in a company where you want to promote people beyond their level of competence. And so they get to a certain level and they can't deliver at that level because they've not gone through the rudiments. They've not learned. You can't give what you don't have. That's a reality that I would give anyone who is like me 20 years ago as an advice today. Go through the rudiments. Learn. It's like you go into university or into secondary school boarding house. Like they say, don't go through boarding house. Let the boarding house go through you, right?
Yeah.
Learn. Every day is like a book. You write the pages of your story in life in that book. Don't turn the page until you have written it, until you've read that book, until it's full. It shouldn't be scanty.
This has been quite insightful.
Okay.
You really pulled back the curtain on what it means to, or what it takes to thrive in HR. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Thank you so much for showing us the way to go in this aspect.
Thank you very much.
I think the big takeout, what I'll take exactly from this, one of the things I'll take from this is that wherever we are aiming at, whatever destination we are going, we need to actually take the step stage by stage. We shouldn't flip the chapter. We need to write our story word by word. And I want to hope everyone watching has taken that too, or one or two things. So thank you for sharing your unfiltered story with us. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you. Mr. Tom.
Thank you for taking me back to my talkative days. And,
it was nice to chat with you.
Bringing all that out. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
So I hope Mr. Tom's story has encouraged you. If you enjoyed this conversation, please hit the like button, subscribe so you don't miss our next guest, and drop a comment below telling us your biggest takeaway from today's conversation. And if you even have any questions you'd like to throw to Mr. Tom, you can leave it down below in the comment section. Until next time, keep being authentic, keep asking questions, and we will see you on the next episode of Professions Unfiltered. Bye for now.